decision. Now it just turned 9:31, so I'm devastated. All right. Oh, do we have a quorum? Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Great. Well, thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. Welcome to the Infrastructure Operations Committee of 12th of April 2022. Bit of a hybrid meeting again today, but that's fine. We'll make that work. Sarah and I are going to co-chair. I'll do the first couple of items up to the minutes, and then Sarah's going to take over and she'll chair the second half of the meeting, which is only the other 4 items. So really short agenda this morning, team. It's really basically due to the high number of staff in Eva Lisa's area that, you know, when reports and stuff were due, have been away or needing to isolate. So hopefully we have seen the peak of that. And it may mean an additional IOC meeting in June, because there was about 6, 7, 8 reports that had to be pulled, unfortunately. So that's why the agenda is incredibly light, which means a short meeting, let's hope. Jeff, stay quiet. Don't jinx it. But if we do need an extra meeting in June, we will keep everyone updated if that's the case. And we also have a workshop at 1:30 today. So, yeah. All right, so with that, I'll open the meeting, and there are apologies from Councillor Pascoe and Councillor Naidu-Rolfe for lateness, and Councillor McPherson and Councillor Hamilton for full meeting, also for lateness.
And I'm on remote.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Councillor Donovan also for lateness. Are there any other apologies?
Made it.
Councillor Donovan's here, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, you are. Oh, there we go. I can see you now. Yeah. Just see the good-looking people on the other side of the table.
One day I'll make it.
All right. So with that, I'll move that the apologies be received. Seconded by.
Happy to do it.
Yep.
Councillor Wilson. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
There are none against. That's carried. All right. Confirmation of the agenda. There was an updated run sheet sent out this morning. And that just had an extra apology on there, and also just confirming through staff availability, we're going to bring item 7 up a couple and take that straight after item 5. So with that, I'll confirm, move that we confirm the agenda, seconded by Councillor Wilson. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. All those in favour say aye. There are none against. That's carried. Is there any declarations of interest? No, there are none. Right, now we're going to go to public forum. We've got Phil Evans from Bike Action Hamilton speaking to the General Manager's report. Now, Phil has some key points to make, and I am allowing him 10 minutes for a variety of reasons. One, he is an organisation, although in chatting to governance, they've said that 10 minutes for organisation only applies when we're in proper hearing mode, but as chair I've made an exception for Phil here, so we will do that, but that 10 minutes would include any questions if anybody had any as well. So do we have Phil online?
We do. I'm just waiting for his camera and mic to flip over.
Just while we're there, is Norm asleep or is he frozen?
I think he's wide awake.
Is he moving?
And watching you.
It's just frozen on my screen.
I'm alive and kicking, thank you.
There we go. Morning, Phil.
Good morning, Angela. Sorry about that. My camera was unplugged.
Ah, that's okay.
And then I unplugged my mouse and it all
right.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can.
Okay, and
So-
thank you, Chair Angela, for allowing me a little bit of extra time today. I really appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay, good morning. I'm speaking today on behalf of Bike Action Hamilton, a group set up to undertake real action on the streets to protect bike lanes from driver intrusion. And I'm speaking to the biking and micro-mobility item in the General Manager's report. The issue of bike lane safety for cyclists is paramount, and the lack of safety across the city is deeply concerning. It's also complex and needs a cohesive short, medium, and long-term plan. Unfortunately, time doesn't allow me to say everything I need to say, so I'll be as brief as I can with these items. I've recently been asking staff for clarification about the issuing of fines for drivers parking vehicles across bike lanes in the suburbs when we provide photo evidence of the offences. I'm told that wardens must cite proof of the infringement before issuing fines. This goes against Section 139 of the Land Transport Act, which clearly states that the warden can issue a fine if they have reasonable grounds to suspect an offence is being or has been committed. I have sent in a reasonable number of photos of vehicles parked in bike lanes over the last few months, and footpaths as well. And in one response to my inquiries, was told that my complaints could be seen as frivolous and vexatious. Parking warden staff should be acting on all evidence of parking offences, especially when it puts people at risk of injury and death. That's what can happen when we are forced out into traffic because our bike lanes are blocked. At the last infrastructure meeting, I spoke about getting knocked off my bike by a driver turning left across my path and ending up in an ambulance with injuries to my knees, face, a dislocated shoulder, and ongoing issues with both hands. That happened on February the 15th while I was riding in a bike lane. On April the 1st, 12 days ago, while also riding in a bike lane, a mother picking up her kids from school thought she was more entitled to drive along the bike lane than me. So she bulldozed past me and used her car to push me out of the way. I landed hard on my left hand, aggravating the previous injury. She was heading to a left turn on a roundabout ahead. If I need to do anything involving lifting, I need to wear braces. In Auckland, in the last 2 weeks, 2 cyclists have been killed by drivers turning left. One entering a roundabout was hit by a driver of a truck and died. The other was killed when a driver cut through a bike lane on a left bend while the cyclist was right there in front of them. On Monday, a cyclist in Nelson died from injuries sustained last Friday when a driver opened their car door without looking. Over the past 2 years, I have been trying to get this council to properly understand the real dangers of these 2 situations, left turns and car door zone bike lanes. And while a handful of intersections and lanes have been fixed, and I applaud that, this city contains hundreds of bike lanes that are not protected, where cyclists literally risk our lives because of dangerous driver attitudes and behaviours. I have done everything I can to get through to this council what needs to be done to protect us out on the road, but there is still far too little being done. I have asked for Martin Park's team to be doubled or tripled because their workload is massive. I have suggested a targeted rate be applied to raise funding from the very people who are the cause of the problem for cyclists, and that's drivers, and it is not being discussed. It seems any mention of drivers being held to account falls on deaf ears, meaning, as far as I can see, it is being made political. The situation on our roads is about life and death. That will happen again in Hamilton, and that will be partly the fault of this council for not acting properly. Many of the emails I write to council, Waka Party and the government contain responses like, we take the safety of all road users seriously. Sorry, but that is absolute rubbish. If this council and those other agencies really adhered to that, I would not be getting injured, and those cyclists in Auckland and Nelson would not have died. And I'll include there the cyclists who have died in Hamilton, Michael Leach and the guy who was killed on Ruakura Road a few years ago. This is about life and death. Please let that sink in. People are dying and being injured because councils are not acting on this. You all make the rules and you set the agenda for staff to follow. So please do that. Properly discuss this issue and instruct the roading teams to prioritise the existing bike lanes throughout the city and protect our lives. Our safety should never be up to a vote on the whim of councillors on any particular day. Think about that. When you vote down a safety measure that will protect lives, or when you don't even discuss it, you are putting my life and all other cyclists' lives at risk. I can't think of any other activity in this city where council does so little regarding health and safety. I want to challenge you all to spend the next month riding a bike wherever you need to go. If you don't, then you have no idea what it is like, and you will be making life and death decisions with no real understanding of what we have to navigate. Your decisions determine how many people will suffer injuries or will die in the coming months and years. Do you want to play a part in the next person's death because you didn't act? Borrow the money if you have to. And when the whinging public start complaining, then tell them it is to stop people dying. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. I've got a question from Councillor Bunting.
Thank you. G'day, Phil. Thank you for your passionate submission. Good to see you here today. You and I have discussed this many, many times, and we kind of disagree a little bit on the off-road, on-road angle. And I wonder if we might have a little bit of that discussion today. Would it not be safer to have cycle lanes off-road where possible, for example, Gordonton Road, etc.? Your feelings are quite different, is that right? I just need to understand that.
No, Mark, I'm in favour where that is the only option, if there's space available to put bike lanes off-road, absolutely 100% agree with that.
Oh, okay.
I use shared paths wherever I can, but the fact is that the majority of bike lanes that already exist in this city cannot be retrofitted with bike lanes off to the side.
Yep.
There is no space for that. So this city must understand that on-road bike lanes are a vital necessity. And that also includes that until off-road bike lanes can be built and funded, obviously, what is there is what is needed to be used. We need to use those on-road bike lanes, but we need them to be safe.
Right. So
until bike lanes can be put off-road, we need to ride on the road. That's a given, and that needs to be understood. But they need to be safe.
Yeah. No, I understand the point you're making very clearly, and I'm just reflecting on recent email dialogues where we only have a certain amount of money, and I know how that pokes the beehive a little bit at you, and I don't intend to. But would you rather spend the money on getting off-road paths or building barriers on roads, if you had to make that choice?
If I had to make the choice right now for the next few years, is make safe what's already there.
Okay.
Make it safe, because in the last 2 months, I've been hit twice. I've been knocked off my bike twice. And I've been begging and pleading this council to make these bike lanes safe, to stop drivers intruding into our space. That's the problem. Cycle ones do that. They're quick, they're easy, they're put in there, they stop the vehicles from intruding in our space. And it's left turns that are the problem. And the fact that drivers drive along bike lanes I can probably guarantee that every councillor and every staff member of council has in the last week driven along a bike lane in a lane of traffic in rush hour to get to a left turn at an intersection or round that.
But the cycle ones don't stop the doors, right?
But our door zones are the next thing.
Yeah, okay, thanks Phil. We'll carry this on offline, I appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Bunting. We are at 10 minutes, so last question, Councillor Donovan.
Thanks, Chair Angela.
It wasn't a major question. I'll be as quick as I can. But Phil, I'm a recent newly elected member, and I've actually started riding my bike a little bit more, and I concur with what you're saying. I saw some interesting sights this morning, actually. I was out on my bike, and I know exactly what you mean by the cycle lanes, but Bunty nicked my question about the cycle wands. But just in regard to the cycle wands, we still have to pay consideration towards trucks, don't we? Because they're moving around the city as well, and probably more frequently now with the increase in logistics and freight that's going to be carted around the city as well. So what do we do in terms of their presence on the road? Is it a driver education in your perspective, or from your perspective, or is it because we can't physically make the roads wider, can we? But I know that trucks have a real issue with those wands.
Okay, the issue there is that whether it's a truck, a long semi and trailer, or a round the town truck, or a vehicle, or a car, or a motorbike, the white lines on either side of the traffic lane are the lane for traffic. Trucks, motorbikes, cars, everything. That white line on the left side of a traffic lane is a no-go area. Do not drive across it. It is very, very, very simple. The lanes are there to keep people in their lanes. So if a truck needs to drive a crossover into a bike lane, he is not driving to his lane. Those lanes are designed for trucks. If he physically can't stay in his own lane, then he is in the wrong road. He needs to go on another road. But that white lane that protects, that is on the road between the traffic lane and the bike lane, I mean, every time I go out riding, vehicles just drift across that white line. That is illegal. It is illegal to drive along a bike lane. And if you've got two wheels in that bike lane, that is illegal. So I don't understand. There is no excuse. And yes, it is driver education that is desperately needed. Waka Kotahi aren't doing it. Police aren't enforcing this. And neither are council by putting in something to stop the vehicles. It's also might be worth noting that the orange cycle ones can be driven over. They are made of rubber. They used to be called hit sticks. But that shouldn't be, I mean, if necessary and they need to knock them out of the way a little bit, then they're still going to survive. But they shouldn't be going anywhere near them anyway. Their lane is clearly marked.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's all the questions we have today. Thank you, Phil. Appreciate your sharing your experiences with us and your thoughts as well. And we will no doubt have a discussion with elected members when we get to the General Manager's report. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll be listening to that.
All right. So let's move on. We're going to go to the minutes, item 5, which is on page 6 of diligence. And this is the minutes of the 24th of February 2022 IOC committee. I will move that those minutes are a true and accurate record. Seconded by Councillor Van Osten. Thank you. Is there any inaccuracies anybody needed to point out? There are none. Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That's everyone in the chamber. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, now we're going to go to item 7, which is on page 35, and this is a regular update for our water stimulus project delivery. So we have Myri.
Yes.
Yes.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, there you are. Hello.
Hello. Morena tātou. So today's report is just a regular update on the Three Waters Reform Stimulus Program. So overall, the program is progressing really well. We have a high level of expenditure occurring at the moment, and that's reflective of the completion or moving towards the completion of many of the projects and completion of the program as a whole in June this year. So at the end of February, we had spent just shy of $13.2 million, and that's equivalent to about 75% completion of the program. But as of April, so as of yesterday when I checked in, we had actually incurred $14.2 million. So as I said, high level of expenditure currently occurring, because that's 82% of the program that's complete. In paragraph 31, I referred to a recent instalment of a further $1.989 million of stimulus grant that we've received. So that means that we now have access to $15.3 million, or 80% or 88% of the total stimulus funding available to Hamilton City Council. The next funding instalment will be requested later this month, and that will be after we have submitted the Q6 report, which is actually due on Thursday. As we are approaching the end of the program, I've made a slight change to the report and provided a lot more information on each of the projects, and that can be found in attachment 1, which is on page 41 of Diligent. So hopefully that additional detail provides some really good insight and context around some of the projects that have been undertaken and some of the great outcomes that we're achieving as a result of this program of works. So at that point, I will happily take the report as read and answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you. Sorry for coughing just then, everyone. I thought I was on mute. Are there any questions? I have a couple. Mangai Hill. I can go first.
Tēnā koutou. Kia ora, Marie. What a fantastic report, and really proud to see a number of key achievements achieved. I just want to ask the question in regards to He Pou Manawa Ora. With the number of fantastic projects being achieved, is there alignment to He Pou Manawa Ora and how that's been achieved?
I guess when this program was initiated and the projects were selected, it was prior to He Pou Manawa Ora being finalised. But I think there are some strong alignments there, and where a lot of this work is not just coming to completion at the end of this program. It will be ongoing, and we can look to better improve those alignments and linkages between these projects or these outcomes and He Pou Manawa Ora.
Yeah, so there's real strong alignment to the Pou within He Pou Manawa Ora, and so you're actually ticking the box and achieving some real good outcomes, which do also kick goals in He Pou Manawa Ora as our kaupapa for cultural wellbeing. So some real strong alignment there, so that'll be a good suggestion. There's another point. Can I just, there's acknowledgements to mātauranga Māori in the cultural aspects of the projects. Just quickly, could you explain what does mātauranga Māori mean in the context of Māori in the project?
So the one that I guess immediately comes to mind is in our education project, and that is where we've actually come up with a curriculum activity that is looking specifically at Māori of water. So it's using the story of Papa Nua Uku and Rangamārie, and explaining what Māori actually means, and it's a pretty cool little curriculum activity, and there's been a lot of interest. It's been rolled out at one school so far, and they have come back with incredible feedback to say just how valuable it was, and they're looking to share that resource out wider outside of Hamilton and the Waikato region.
Well done, congratulations. I'm on the governance group for the Waikato Regional Council project, and so there's real strong synergy. I'm sure you met Papatua Nuku and Ranginui with your kupu, so I acknowledge that. Well done. Just a quick suggestion, it would be great if the school could also develop a Māori app, use technology and our Western knowledge to combine with Mātauranga Māori to develop a Māori app that aligns to not only water, but also there's a real strong opportunity to protect and provide for the Māori o te pika pika and the long tail back. So just some food for thought in terms of advancing this wonderful kaupapa. Thank you and well done.
Awesome, thank you.
Great, thanks, Norm. Question from Mayor Paula in the chamber, and then Councillor Thompson after that. Mayor Paula.
Thank you, Chair. Just in terms of the Rotakoti projects, are those all associated with Stage 1 development Rotakoti, or are they coming faster because of the, consent for Charles Marr and things in development coming on more quickly?
So the Greenway project, so that's looking at the designation consent conditions, that is in support of the Greenway creation, so that is future LTP investment. So it's basically supporting the progress of that future capital works and development of the Greenway. So
that's what I thought it might be. So we're not doing any other substantial work in Rotakoti for a while, though, are we? Not until the outer years of the LTP?
No, so this is all just supporting work, getting those building blocks in place so that that future work can be progressed.
Okay, so it's getting it in good time rather than waiting to the
that's right.
last bit. There was another one, sorry, hang on. The resilience study that's to reduce the potential for incidences of harm from water spills, etc. Is that what that one is?
Yeah, it's just basically ensuring that that we're well prepared. So a couple of areas in that particular project that we're focused on are emergency plans, making sure that our range of emergency plans are correct, that we're identifying our risks really well, that we understand the risks associated with our suppliers and our supply chains, because that could inform future procurement arrangements. It's also looking at power and telecommunications, which has informed some of the proposals that have been put forward in the annual plan. So it is, a lot of it is just trying to understand what are our risks and how well placed are we for those, to make sure that that we're not caught resting on our laurels. So yeah.
Okay. And the Low River Contingency.
Yes.
Can you just talk us through that? Because I know that with climate, and actually the shot over in Queenstown is very low. You can't even run jet boat rides at the moment. I just found out. Interesting. But anyway, just in terms of what do we know about the low river levels, how often are we likely to, do we do some work on how likely we're to experience them now? Because we're a whole system right from Taupō to,
that's right.
It's complicated, I know. But
yeah, so we're very dependent on the levels in Lake Taupō, and that will determine whether what the level in the Waikato River actually is. So this project was all about being able to deploy and trial the infrastructure that was built back in 2016 to make sure that we could respond if the river levels actually dropped to a level that we're unable to abstract water from the river. So since 2016, we've not got to a situation where we've actively had to use that plan. We do expect that to be an increasing sort of occurrence in the future, but it was always intended that this low-level contingency emergency provision was an interim step to a more substantial infrastructure arrangement in the future. So but we're just going through the process of actually understanding what the best option that might be, and that could be lowering our intake or a separate intake or a different type of intake to the treatment plant. So
yeah, so that kind of leads me to my very final question, Madam Chair, which is, so I guess we can foresee the need somewhere down the outer years of this LTP or in the beginning of the next LTP to do a significant upgrade to safely protect our water supply in those low river situations. Taupo was below its required level summer before last for quite some time, wasn't it? And they had to build reserves in the river.
yes, Lake Taupo has dropped to quite low levels on several occasions, and we've been sort of 6 to 8 weeks away from having to deploy our low river contingency. So
6 to 8 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got pretty close.
And I understand that the only way we
years.
get through that is the power companies make adjustments through their dam systems to let. Yeah.
That's right. But they do have consent conditions that guide them on how they operate their system, and we work in conjunction with all the other upstream river users to make sure that we minimise that risk to Hamilton. So
I imagine that putting a future-proof arrangement around it won't come cheap if we have to do extra pumping. It's not just a little add-on of a new pump, is it? So.
No. It's the long-term solution is likely to be a completely different intake structure. So at the moment, our intake structure is fixed on the side of the Waikato River, and what a permanent arrangement is likely to be is a whole new intake structure that maybe goes along the bottom of the Waikato River.
Yeah.
So
and that just sorry, it was our last question, but I thought of another one. That intake, that line from the treatment plant across near the gardens, that was the one that was impacted by the earthquake, wasn't it? And put us at a different sort of risk.
So that was actually a supply pipe that, so that's our main eastern bulk main that goes under the Waikato River.
That's right. So, but it comes from the water treatment plant to the east, and I was just making the point that I think that we also have that kind of resilience to consider.
Yes.
Natural events like an earthquake or something, because it actually did happen already, right?
Yes, and part of one of the projects in this program of works in our asset data project is actually looking at asset criticality, and so it's looking at our critical assets and making sure we've identified those, and that will also drive emergency planning and emergency response contingencies to put in place to ensure that those critical assets don't get impacted by natural or unnatural events.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Paula. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Mary. I had a couple of quick questions. I loved the update report. It was really helpful way to kind of get a view of all the projects. I'm just wondering, there'll be quite a bit of interest in the access paths going in where we're doing the work in the gully. Will there be kind of an opening or blessing or something and some signs for residents to be able to see, hey, now we've got some additional access here for, I guess, walking and things?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I'd have to check with our project manager, but that's a great idea. So I will definitely take that back to the project team.
Cool. Yeah, and I've also heard lots of excitement over in Mangaiti. So lots of people are waiting for these paths to open. So that would be great. I did have another question, but seems to be a common thing that I forget what I'm doing. No, water sustainability, the strategy. I was just wondering, will that come to a briefing, or what's the plan for that? Because it sounds like a really interesting and important piece of work, and obviously we're running pretty close to the end of the term. But
yeah, it's definitely a very interesting piece of work, and yes, we are intending on bringing it to elected members to through a briefing as such. We're just trying to go through the logistics of when that will be. Okay. But I guess the important thing to understand with that project in particular, it's not just one that ends on the 30th of June. It is something that will continue on, and we can continue to refine and build on the work that has been done. So we will definitely want to engage with elected members on that one.
Cool, thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Councillor Contingency.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, I'm just going to try and take a different current on this, if you pardon the terrible pun. Years ago, and I remember being involved in, we bought a very expensive barge to cope with lower levels that Mayor Paula was talking about with some great alarm. How often have we used it?
So that was back in 2016, and that's when the current contingency infrastructure was put in place.
Yeah.
We've not had to use that actively to supply the city.
Right.
And so this project and this program of works was all about just making sure it was still operational and that it was still ready to be used and rolled out.
Right, so we can use that when the water level gets low to ensure our supply. But we have, and I'm certainly not being political about this, but how much was it?
Oh gosh, I can't remember the exact figure.
Close to 10 million or something around that, wasn't it? It was.
I know it wasn't quite that much. I think it was around 2 to 3 million. But I can confirm that. Yes.
Yeah. I'm just, never, and it's and this. I guess I'm a little bit worried as a governor that we're using all our available facilities appropriately before we race out and effectively scare people into buying more. So are you doing that sort of body of work to make sure it's being used, or that we're, what we've got is right? Because who's to say we don't spend a whole lot more money buying stuff we also don't use?
I guess in this particular instance, this is, from my perspective, the investment in that infrastructure has been very good.
Right.
I think if we did experience low levels in the Waikato River, basically that would stop our ability to supply water to Hamilton residents.
Yep.
So I think
say again, sorry,
if the Waikato River dropped to a level where we could not abstract water, we would not be able to supply Hamilton with water.
But it hasn't got to a level where we've needed to use the barge yet, right? Which is why we got it.
Not yet, no.
Right.
But as I said to Mayor Paula, we've come within weeks of needing to deploy that.
So say we had to use barge face, because I just wanted to throw that in. Should we, how long have we got before it gets too low to even use that?
That is, I can't tell you off the top of my head, but what the barge does is it moves it out into a much deeper part of the river.
Yeah, and sucks up the.
So it would have to be quite a substantial drop for the barge not to be effective in supplying water to the.
Almost dried up.
Oh well, we would still need 1 or 2 metres, but that deeper part of the river is probably 7 to 8 metres deep.
Yeah.
And so you've got a lot of leeway there.
So I appreciate, and this is the last sort of way I'll go down this angle, but I appreciate we're trying to look at our resilience of our internal supply. I get that.
Yep.
But are we not just spending money on top of spending money to make sure we have a supply that we haven't even tried out yet? Does that make sense? So are we just basically parking up that barge and not using it and trying other ways? Because I've heard bandied around quite a bit.
Yeah, and I guess that was the intent with this project, was to actually sort of brush it off and make sure that it was still in a functional state, and that the team were all trained and ready to actually deploy it.
Yep.
Because it could happen any summer.
And to put it in, Chair, last question. To put it in the water is quite expensive as well, isn't it? We have to crane it in, and
yes.
What does that cost to put it in?
So this project in total was $150,000.
Right.
And I would say about $100,000 of that was for the actual deployment. There were extra pumps that were bought to just increase the capacity of that infrastructure from providing 70 million litres per day up to a maximum of 90 million litres per day.
Yep.
And that's important because during summer, when we're likely to see this kind of effect, that is just above what we would normally use on a day-to-day basis in summer.
So we're budgeting to use that if we need to?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Councillor. Really good questions. I've got two on different topics, but just following on with the barge, I think I recall, Myri, twice where we have actually water level for the river has been quite critical in the past. I think we've lowered it twice in anticipation of nearly being, I think it was twice, wasn't it? Nearly having to use it. So it was that right?
Yes, and basically the new sort of contingency plan with the new floating platform means that we can respond faster. So previously when we had just a very small little barge, it was basically a very small barge, we needed a lot longer. So we needed a 6 to 8 week window to actually deploy that plan, but we've revised the plan and now it only takes, we can deploy it within 2 weeks. So it means that we don't have to roll it out as early. So in the past, we've actually deployed it a lot earlier because there was, it basically took longer.
Just noting that we didn't own that barge, and so we actually couldn't be guaranteed that.
So who owned the barge?
It was through a
I think it was through Downer.
Yeah, it was through a consultant contractor. So basically, the barge that you're referencing that we previously had wasn't ours.
The previous one, yeah. Well,
yeah, so
we own Bargy Mitch
we
Barge
had
Race,
to.
We do own it.
And we were basically competing with others to have that barge. So if it was in use, it wouldn't be available.
Yeah, got it. No, but we have got it, yeah. Thanks.
Myri, when we did, because I remember all this conversation years ago prior to us having a plan B in with looking at climate change in our hot summers, we did alongside this, I'm pretty sure we did, I'm not asking you to remember but the figure, but we did do some work on the alternative option, which was doing brand new or moving the intake or outtake pipe, whatever you call it. And that was like mind-bogglingly expensive.
Yes, that's correct. I can't remember the exact figures, but that it is millions and millions of dollars that would be required to upgrade our intake structure.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so just two questions from me, and concur with Councillor Thompson. It's a great report. I did notice you'd changed it because I'm like an eagle eye on these things because I'm loving this whole stimulus package opportunities that it gave us. Rainwater and greywater case study. Now I know that it says in the report this is being considered alongside other technical work relating to the district plan, but this was one of the things that I put on, into this proposal. Well, where will we have that discussion and see the outcome and see? I think I read the Victoria or the Western Australia report anyway. I didn't like it. I didn't like what it said. But where will we have that discussion? Would we have that in Councillor Gallagher's committee first, and would that be this term, or where will we have a really good discussion where we can hopefully make some decisions?
Well, I was hoping to combine it with the sustainability strategy and actually bring those together, because I see that the rainwater incentivisation is almost a sort of subset of the sustainability strategy. It's almost an action that comes out of a strategy focused on sustainability. So I'm quite happy. I was thinking that, or going to propose that we started off with a briefing, but happy to take it to a committee if that is preferred.
No, briefing would, because I'll read all of those reports and all of your findings and everything, because this is dear to my heart, this project. So if that works for the chair of Environment Committee, then that'd be great. I look forward to that. And second question, sorry, Martin.
I said I will have a deep, meaningful discussion with my deputy chair.
And then just on page 51, on the work, great work, water leak detection. And I see how you've split them into the leaks found in the Dinsdale area, Templeview and Ruakiwi. Kind of a lot less than I was expecting, I guess, but in terms of the number of leaks, given the size of the city. But is the dollar figure, Mairi, is that 1 point something million or 3 point something million?
Which dollar figure are you looking at?
I'm on page 51 and I'm looking at the map. And so, for example, it says the Dinsdale Water Supply Zone, 65 kilometres of pipes checked, 44 leaks found. And then it's got 1,812 square metres of water a year saved or more, and it's got a dollar amount, 3351. I'm assuming that's 3.3 million?
No, that is just thousand.
Oh, well, that's great.
That's very, very small. But I guess that is we used the commercial rate for water just to give an indication, and those leakage rates are estimates based on what's been found. So,
okay, well, because when I first read it, I thought thousands. That's pretty amazing, actually, to have so little. But we still haven't done the whole city, right? So those are only 3 zones.
Yeah, so we targeted I guess some of the older areas of the city to get an understanding of just what level of leakage we might find. But yeah, it's a tip of an iceberg in terms of what's been done, and a lot more work needs to be done in that space.
Tip of the iceberg in terms of the work, not the leaks that you're imagining you'll find.
Yeah, that's right, the work.
Based on this result, I was very pleasantly surprised. That's why I thought, crikey, I better check that that's not millions of dollars, because then we have a significant problem. It's thousands. So, boy, was that a project worthwhile. So thank you for that. All right. So, doesn't appear to be any further questions. No? Okay. Let's move to it's just to receive the report on page 35. I will move that the report be received, seconded by Mongai Hill. Is there any debate? I just quickly, I'll come to Councillor Bunting. Just quickly, I'm very critical of some things this term that the government has passed down to us, but I'm also really fair in my comments, and I wholeheartedly have supported this. And this was a stimulus package, I think, that came out of 2020. It was directly targeted to our waters, our 3 waters. And boy, when you look at the list of projects that we've been able to achieve and the work that we wouldn't have been able to do, it's quite significant, and in my view, all incredibly positive. And Mairi, so thank you to you and all of your team that's worked on this. I can't wait to see the outcome of the rainwater tank one and the sustainability strategy. Just really awesome work. So thank you. Councillor Bunting?
Thank you, Chair Angela. I also commend the report. I think it's fantastic. But as a governor, I'm just watching very closely. I remember the great hoopla when the barge face was built, and I found the report and stuff actually from Aaron Lehman about a very entertaining debate about it. Actually, it was 2.34 million. It was at the same time we approved the $21 million Rotatuna Reservoir, the same meeting, and one councillor, Tooman, at that point questioned the cost and said maybe we should build a dam instead. And Councillor Wilson replied, which part of Hamilton would you like to flood? So it sounded like it, and this was way back in 2015. So I guess the point I'm making is that, look, we've got the kit. The other interesting thing in that article is to retrieve the water when it got down to that level, it was $30,000 each time. And now we're saying it's $100,000 each time. So as a governor, I'm just watching very carefully. There's a lot of alarm speak at the moment. And I'm not denying climate change by any means, I'm not going there, but we need to be very, very pragmatic about what we're doing as well, and just keep an eye on these expenses to make sure that we're not buying contingency to cover our contingency. Let's use what we've got and just make sure our eyes are wide open as we go into this. But I think it's great work, but I just wanted to exercise that voice of caution. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other debate?
Yeah, me. Oh, what happened to me?
Oh,
I am there. Okay, sorry. Just on that, thank you. Also, a very good report. I love the way that I was going to say it floats up, but it was an unintended pun. But it floats to the surface the key issues and costs around water infrastructure, because, one of the hardest things being a city politician is that playgrounds are, like we were at the beautiful playground yesterday, that's very visible, it's very obvious to the public. You put a new shiny playground in, they enjoy it and they value it, but all the pipes and bits and pieces underneath the city that keep the city running and growing, they don't see and they don't necessarily understand as much, and they're incredibly expensive. Taking on board what Mark says, we do have to always check and recheck that we're doing the very best we can, and I believe the staff are, despite the barge face issue. I think we do have to err on the side of caution, because the cost of not being able to supply water to the city would be unbelievable, and the impact on public health would be unbelievable, and the way it would just grind our city to a halt would be unbelievable. So we do need to make sure that we protect for the future our water supplies as best we can. And we do at the moment have the one intake, and we have the reservoirs that we've spent quite a bit of money on to protect supply in different parts of the city. We did a field trip and stood on top of those, and that was really awesome to see the one in Ruakura and how that really gives resilience to our system. We don't want to underinvest, we don't want to overinvest, that's true. But we've got a bow wave of growth coming. We've got more and more people choosing to come in the city. Every person who comes to the city, builds a new house, needs a new water supply. So going back to Angela's comments, I'm really excited about the work that Sarah and Angela, you've been talking about, the rainwater tanks, the grey water systems, new subdivisions being water-wise, because I believe as a city, we're still quite high per capita of water use compared to some other places. We're certainly, each person uses more water than an Aucklander does. So we have to keep those things in mind and challenge ourselves to invest wisely and to do the right thing with water, because water is the most precious and valuable personal, community and economic resource that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gallagher.
I don't want to go over the other previous points, which are good and valid points. I'll just make an observation. You have an LTP that is coming up. You have an annual plan which you're looking at. And this report underscores, both for Mari and Eva-Lisa and the staff team, right from the people who put the pipes in to the high-level intellectual grunt that you want from our staff in Hamilton's fourth largest metro. Do not short-change your staffing resource. And I know that's not easy in terms of the budget and all that, but this report to me is all about investing in some intellectual capacity, some professional capacity, and I just want to compliment our team, but from a democratically elected representative point of view around this table, when you do come to your next LTP, just make sure that you invest in that intellectual capital infrastructure for these ongoing problems. But obviously, well done, and I certainly acknowledge the totality of the contribution, as I said, right from the person who's putting in the pipes to our management team as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. There's no more debate. I have to do a right of reply to present a different side to my good friend Councillor Bunting's comments on Argy McBargy face, or whatever you called it. Look, I think it's really good governance to have a plan B in this particular area. And we have to take it in context as well. We sit at water alert levels. We get into them earlier every year. They seem to last longer every year. We're still in water alert level 3, much to my disgust. And last summer, I think it was last summer, or the one before, we got the closest we had ever been for moving to an alert level 4. And we don't have these kinds of big project contingencies for every single service that we deliver for the city, but this is water, as the Mayor has said, and I certainly wouldn't want to imagine being part of a council, who would ever consider not having a plan B for a life supporting service. I appreciate what the due diligence that Councillor Bunting was doing, however, and really good comments and debate on this item, so thank you. All right, so that's it, and let's go to the vote. We'll do it on the show of hands. I can see everyone except for Councillor Gallagher and Mayor Paula, but Narelle can see them. So that looks like, sorry, raise your hands. Hi, Martin. That's been carried. Thank you, everyone. Okay, look, I know it's only 10:30, but we're nearly finished. We're just going to take a quick 5 minutes. So Councillor Thompson's going to take over for the remainder of the meeting. We'll have a quick 5-minute pit stop, and then she can move into the chair's role. Thanks, everyone.